It actually managed to deploy first try. This is absolutely insane. There's an entire underground movement of vibe coders that are 5 steps ahead of us. You hear them say they vibe coded an entire app, but when you try it, the AI writes some slop and then you end up saying it's not there yet. Wrong. And these guys, they have some tools that we haven't tried. And I'll show you exactly how they work and what they can do. But before we get into it, don't be afraid. I was intimidated by this and I was skeptical. And if you already use Cursor, then you're pretty much good to go. So you can do it too. In fact, do it now. Open up Cursor and follow along with my instructions and we'll build something together. And then you also get some hands-on experience and kind of get over this mental barrier that you can't do it or you don't have time to do it. I promise you it's going to be worth it. So I'm going to guide you through 5 important steps. The first one is writing requirements. The second one is writing a PRD file. The third one is setting up your code base and setting out the task framework itself, breaking down the requirements, and then iterating on the code using the framework to build the app itself. And that's about it. But first things first, writing requirements. Obviously, the AI doesn't know what you want to build, so you want to spend 10-15 minutes and write some requirements. What we do with these requirements afterwards is to create a PRD document. Now, this is the key part. No one that I found so far explains how the hell do you build this PRD file. Like, everyone's so secretive. They don't want to show you a prompt. They don't want to tell you this is an example and how you do it. None of that. You're completely in the blind. Well, let me tell you, friend, not anymore, because I will share every single prompt. Check the link in the description, and I will share a meta prompt that you can use to build any number of these PRD files, so you don't have to worry about it ever again. All right, let's write the requirements now. I'm going to build a web app that allows you to generate images through the new GPT Image 1 API. So this app I will call IMGXAI. How about that? .com. Is that available? If that's available, I'm buying it. Just a sec. Holy crap, this is available and I'm snatching it. All right, so what I want this to be is a Midjourney clone that uses the OpenAI APIs to generate images instead, but has more advanced UI options such as generating multiple images, multiple variations for the same prompt in parallel. All right, so these are the requirements. You can take a look at them and analyze them. Try to be as detailed as possible. We are going to take these and just drop them into ChatGPT. That output we will put in another prompt that generates the PRD document for us. And now we're cooking. So what I recommend is you take this and you go through it and just double check that everything's good. All right, so I'm happy with my functional requirements here. I'm going to take these and put them into another prompt now. And this is actually the secret sauce. This is the part that no one's gonna tell you. I will share the prompt, so just check the description for the full thing. And it's done. I've used the Anthropic console to generate this with Claude 3.7 Sonnet. It's important that you use this because it's a little bit more creative and this prompt is made for Claude. I'll do the same thing that I did with the ChatGPT output. I'm gonna take this, go through it and make sure there's nothing more than I wanted that creeped in there. Looking good. So now we need to take this and set up Cursor so we can generate our task system. There are multiple tools you can use to get task management into your AI editor, whether it's Cursor or Windsurf or just in the CLI. You can do it yourself, or you can use Klein's new task tool, or you can use something called Trim Task Manager. You can use Rucode's Boomerang Tasks, or the one that I'm gonna talk about in this video, Claude Task Master or TaskMaster AI. I found this one to be the best for multiple reasons. First of all, it's a CLI tool, so you can run it by yourself independently of your environment. It has support for Cursor, Windsurf, Lovable. and it has an MCP server, so it just works. Anyway, it's a vibe, it's a gut feeling. I've tried my own task system too that worked, but just not as good as this one. This just seems a little bit more accurate with complex systems. And without further ado, let's open up Cursor. So we're gonna head over to Cursor settings, then MCP, then add new global MCP server. And then in here, we're going to paste this. Don't worry, everything's linked in the description, so you could just copy paste this. You'll need both an Anthropic API key and a Perplexity API key. This one's used for web searches, so it's quite important to add it in there. But if you don't have it, I'm feeling kind of generous, just use my keys. Why not? Hey, free internet money, right? Cool. So once we have this, you give it a save, you can close it up. If we go back to MCP here, you see it's green, it's up and running. If it's not, you could just press on this refresh until it is. All good. Now it is time to bootstrap the code base and then use TaskMaster AI to actually organize the tasks for us. It's very important to set up the code base because AI sucks at that. It's not predictable. Start with something that you know, start with a CLI that can bootstrap the project. I'm gonna use ShipXN because it's the tool that I know, but whatever you do, don't start from scratch. That is a bad idea. You'll waste time and money and tokens and you'll get a worse foundation. All right, so it is deployed now. I'm just going to take this and clone it locally, and then we can continue to set up TaskMaster. I'll open a terminal window, then do git clone and the repository. Please don't steal my password. And we are good to go. The thing that we need to do now is inside scripts, create that prd.txt file. I just did it and pasted the contents generated by Claude, and we are essentially good to go to bootstrap the project. All right, so the first thing we need to do is initialize the TaskMaster and create the initial tasks. You do this by writing the following prompt. I've initialized a new project with Claude Task Master. I have a PRD at scripts prd.txt. Can you parse it and set up initial tasks? And TaskMaster will do its thing. As you can see, it broke it down into 15 tasks. And then if I were to open one of them, I see there is a task ID, there's a status, their dependencies, priority, and then a description of the task itself. When you run TaskMaster AI, it will add some cursor rules for you. But remember, this is just as any other cursor project. So remember to add your own rules about the language, the style, the libraries, everything that you use. This guy wrote over 20 rules that you can pick and choose and add to your project. That will also drastically increase your success rate and decrease the number of bugs and errors you'll find in the code. The next thing we'll do is to analyze the complexity of these tasks and break them down into smaller tasks. The way you do that is to ask it if you can analyze the complexity and help understand which need to be broken down further. Good, it's done. It broke down all of the tasks. If you later want to break down a task, you could just do that by prompting something like this. Task 3 seems complex. Can you break it down into subtasks? So now we can create a new cursor chat. And in here, we start by saying show tasks. This will give you an overview of the tasks that are left. We will use this throughout the implementation to see where we are. The other thing you will have to write is what's the next task I should work on? Please consider dependencies and priorities. And this is essentially the building loop where you see what's pending and you ask it to figure out what the next task is. And then once it recommends a task to work on next, you just prompt it, I'd like to implement task 2, for example. Sit back, relax, take a cup of coffee, and enjoy the process. So let's run the dev server and see what it did. But before, I will install Sentry because I would very much like to know what's going on with my application and possibly sleep at night. So let's do that real quick. So we're up and running locally. It created a simple layout. So the task at hand was to just create the overall shell of the app. So what do we do here? We ask it, what is the next task to work on? It figures out the task, and then we tell it to work on the task. And essentially this is the loop. And just like that, the next task is done. I'm just gonna head over to the browser, do a refresh, make sure stuff is still working. I don't expect any new functionality. This was just setting up the database. So we'll continue with the next task. Another one down, you know the drill. Open the browser, make sure it's still running, then tell it to do the next. This is getting more exciting. Now it's implemented some UI for us. I'll head over to Brave, give it a refresh, and check this out here. It added some options for the quality, aspect ratio, and compression, and then image count as well. Looks good, no errors. I'll just continue with the next task then. The tasks are not necessarily completed in order. They're decided upon based on the dependencies they have. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, then we did 6, and now we did 4, and now we're probably going to jump to 5. So I bet you're watching this and you're asking yourself, what about an existing project? What about a bug in some sort of project that you didn't initialize TaskMaster AI? Can it help me do it? And the answer is yes. So if I find a bug, then I will create a new task, explain what I want to refactor, explain what I want to improve, analyze the complexity, and then let TaskMaster AI also fix that bug. For the same reasons that it's good for coding a new feature, it's also good for fixing a bug. It will systematically break it down. It will take things step by step and in small increments arrive at a solution that's better than trying to one-shot the entire thing, especially in a complex system. Another thing is a lot of the videos you see about this will make it look almost as if AI wrote the whole thing and you didn't have to ever look at what it did. While it's true that you don't have to code almost at all, the reality is that you still have to go into the UI, try out the things, try out the features that you've asked for, and see if they work correctly. And it's not the code itself that is the problem, but it is the behavior. Let's be real for a second. If you are coding an application, with every incremental step, you go in the user interface and do a smoke test and you see that the progress is correct. This also applies to coding with AI. So you cannot just let it do task after task without checking what it's doing and steering it in the right direction. So the reality is, yes, it can write 90% of the code, maybe even more than that, but you are still the one in the driver's seat. You're still the one trying out things and steering it, making it fix the things when they don't work. Final stretch, so close at this point. I'm getting a bit greedy. I want to do more, but I think I've done plenty. This application is useful as it is right now. That being said, I want one more thing, as the great Steve Jobs would have said, and that is the ability to rerun a job. So here we are. It's been a few minutes for you and a few hours for me, but we finally made it to the demo stage. So enough of AI writing stuff. Let's play with the app. And as we know, an app only exists if it's shipped. Allow me to do the honors. Then what, the server? It actually managed to deploy first try. This is absolutely insane. And here we are. This is the app itself. It is a timeline with all the images that I've generated. You can see that each of the images can be opened, and then you have this really neat gallery view, and you can go through the images. You can download the images or reuse the prompt. The difference between this and ChatGPT is that we can open up image specific options. So for example, quality, aspect ratio, and compression levels. But the most interesting thing for me as a professional is being able to generate a larger number of images than one. And this is especially useful for logos, illustrations, any kind of graphic design where you want to see multiple variations of one design and choose between them. So while this is working, I can actually just pick another prompt and put different options on it, generate that. And you can see there is a queue system that ensures that these are generated in order so we don't get rate limited. There's also an option to have default settings. So there's a sprocket on the top right here, and you can see there's an OpenAI key that I pasted before. It's basically, if you don't have this, the app will ask you to put the key, and then you can have a default image count and a default quality and then default aspect ratio. And another cool thing that it implemented, if you see at the top, we have filters, so you can actually filter by size. You can just select the landscape ones and it will just show you the landscape ones. You can filter by date, obviously, or you can sort them by date as well, so from oldest to newest, newest to oldest, or you can just search for the prompt. So if I write spaceship, then you see the spaceship one as well. Even in this shape, it is very useful to me just as a tool, and it's really easy to use. Just put your API key, then everything happens in the browser. Obviously these images are stored in the browser as well, and they are basically retrieved from local storage. Honestly, I think this is awesome. The design is not that bad. The performance is pretty decent, so I can fly through these. I can open them up really easily. I can navigate through them, no problem at all. And by the way, I have not tried light mode at all, so this is a complete surprise for me that it looks so good. It is responsive, which is nuts. I really hope that this inspired you to at least try this tool, to try to build something. Every time I show this tool to somebody, they are pretty much stuck for a few hours building their own thing. It's really addictive, it's really fun, and it's really interesting to see how much you can do even with the current generation of models if you have a task management system plus a good integration with Cursor. What did you think? Are you going to use this tool? Are you going to make some fun project, or do you just hate vibe coding and you never want to hear about it again? But for now, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next one.